Hey everyone, Jeremy from Soaring Eagle Bushcraft here. Just going to do a little short video. If you haven't seen my slideshow recently, my brother and I just went on a hike down to the Zaleski forest, which is in southern Ohio. Last weekend we went Friday night, and then Saturday, so we were hiking for basically a day and a half and camped overnight. And somebody was wanting to know what all we were carrying. I think I made comments somewhere on Facebook that I had 40 pounds on my back, which was a little bit more to carry than I thought it would be for the amount of miles we were hiking. About 4.5 miles in the first day, and then we camped, and then it was pushing 7 miles coming out the next day, 6.7, 6.8 miles. But just want to share with you a little bit about what we had, or what I had in my pack. I can't speak for my brother, but show you my pack and the items I had in there, minus the things that we ate, but I'll show you some examples of other stuff that we had. So I'm going to start off with my pack. I'm going to bring it over here in a second. So the pack that I carry right now, if you can see this, is the Eureka Velocity. Not the greatest pack in the world, but it does have enough capacity and room to carry what I needed for this 2-day trip. And the belt on this, if you've never seen one, is actually pretty heavy, pretty thick and padded. Is very comfortable as far as that goes. I will say that throughout the trip and the carrying of this pack, my shoulders were taking the brunt of the pain. I did adjust the belt several times to put more of the weight on my hips, but it didn't take very long for that to start really working my hips and getting sore, so I would back that off a little bit and let my shoulders take the pain, because my hips have to work to carry me through the woods. The shoulders can scream all they want, but we'll still be able to get there. So this is a 45-liter pack. It's not the largest, but I think it's adequate for the type of trips I plan on going on. On this back of it here, I've got clipped on with the carabiner my salt and pepper shaker. Usually carry it there, and then I have a bottle of hand sanitizer. Didn't use either one of them on this trip, but something I would always leave on there, not adding that much extra weight. So that's the pack itself. At the base of this pack, I stuffed the first thing I put in here, and I actually don't have it because it was my brother's, and I've given it back to him already. But I had a mummy bag, the 20-degree bag, not the lightest of bags, but we knew it was going to get pretty cold that night. It was down in the mid-20s, and I didn't want to take my 30-degree bag, even though it's lighter and more compressible. I was afraid that I would be freezing, so I wanted to make sure I was comfortable, because that's important. So that bag, and I will show you in comparison to my tent here in a minute, was stuffed in the bottom of this, and carried everything else on top of that inside the pack. So I'll get more back to the pack in just a minute. On the top of the pack is this detachable bag. It has the name on it here. I had a lot of stuff jammed down inside of this that was important stuff that I needed accessible. You know, the emergency stuff, first aid, and then food, and my headlamp in case it got dark while we were hiking. So those are kind of the important things I had. And I still got a few things in it that I hadn't taken out from the trip, but it's a fairly small bag. It does have the MOLLE straps on here where you can put things on. The only thing I have on there is a mercury thermometer. Didn't even look at it while we were there. My brother had his smartphone, and we were just using that as a reference for temperature and things like that. But very handy. This was strapped onto the top, so it kept everything kind of compacted down into the bag. But that's what that looks like. So here's a few of the things that were in there. Rain poncho. This is a Frog Tog, just a cheap one. I've used it a couple times. It's holding up so far, but it's good for emergency use. Doesn't take up a lot of space, doesn't weigh a whole lot, and I tend to carry it on trips frequently when I go. Here's just the leftovers from what was in the bag for my food, for snacks and stuff. I did take several packets of Quaker oatmeal, and I did eat one of these for breakfast on Saturday morning. So there's an example of what I had in there, and I got one left over, so I was carrying extra that I didn't need. Also have a tea bag, some mint tea, and I did drink one of these as well. Still have left over. Packet of hot chocolate. I drank one of these, so I actually have 2 of those left over for the next trip. But again, being over prepared I think is better than under prepared for food. I did have, this is just a small pack of peanut M&Ms. I didn't eat these ones, but I had a small Hershey bar and I did eat that. So looks like I had about double the amount of snack and food rations I had for breakfast from what I actually needed. I do know from a past camping trip that I did in the cold that the part that bothered me the most while I was in the cold was when I woke up in the morning. My throat was kind of sore from breathing in the cold air all night. So I did take a pack of cough drops. Again, I probably could have taken 4 or 5 out of here and been fine. I probably only used 1 or 2 of them, and I've got a whole pack, so a little bit of extra weight there. And I know typically, and in my preparation when I was getting ready for this trip, I wasn't thinking that, oh, that's a little tiny bit, it's not much weight, it really doesn't matter. But now I've been on that trip, I've carried that extra weight, I probably would ration it out to what I think I'm actually going to use. Maybe a little bit of extra, but not in the amount that I have just shown you there. For meals, I did take a couple of Mountain House meals. I ate one of them Friday night for dinner. I had a second one. This was my second one, the biscuits and gravy, that I was going to use if we ended up eating lunch on the trail on Saturday on the way out, because we were there during lunchtime. We knew we would be. Chose not to do that. Instead, we snacked a little bit. My brother actually had some MREs, and we ate part of that. First time I tried one of those, and they weren't bad, surprisingly. Not to say I want to sign up for it every day. I appreciate our military people who do have to eat those, and not something I would sign up as the best meal I ever had, but it wasn't bad. So it was kind of a neat experience to try that. So another one that's left over, didn't have to have, but I carried, and here for the next trip, still sealed up. So those are a couple things. One of the things I had been wanting for a while, and I did take, probably would use it more in the warmer months, but this was a neck knife that I carried, and I had it around my neck most of the time. This is the Minimalist. If you're not familiar with the CRKT knives, they make some decent knives, and I've always wanted a neck knife, and this made a nice one. It's got a nice tight fit in the Kydex sheath. Hung around my neck, but actually it was irritating me more than anything, so I stuffed it down inside my shirt and let it down there instead of dangling out in front of me all the time. So just something, I got to get used to, or choose not to take with me on trips like that. But I'm learning all this stuff as I go. I don't know what I'm going to like until I try it, so I'm not spending a lot of money, but a little bit to try things out. Here's a few extra carabiners and some small clips as well. Took them in case I needed to strap something on. Not a lot of weight, but it was extra. I didn't use it. So those are a few things. Now, we'll get into, I've got quite a few other items over here we're going to go through real quick. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them, just kind of show you some things, and then I'll point out the things that I would change the next trip that I learned from this one. So one of the things, and this is not one of the things I would change, but handgun. I have a concealed carry permit, and I do tend to take this with me when I do go hiking. Never know what you're going to run into. Not that I think I'm going to have to shoot anybody or shoot an animal or anything, but part of having a responsibility and having the ability to carry this, I do take it with me. It's there as necessary, and I think it's something I would always carry. So did have this on the trip in. As we were hiking in, I had it on my side. Did not interfere with the belt, didn't hurt, didn't cause pressure. My brother actually had his, I think it's 45, and maybe 40 cal, but he had it in his back concealed, and partway through the trip it was really putting a lot of pressure on him, so he ended up taking that out, stuffing it down in his backpack. We got up Saturday morning, mine went in the backpack. I knew where it was, I could get to it if I needed to, but there was no danger out there. We'd been out there for many hours already, and I wasn't worried. So more for nighttime protection than anything, and this was in the morning, so just another item that I had with me. As far as my tent goes, I bought this a little over a year ago. This is a Teton one-man. Really love this tent. It's pretty compact. I'm not going to break down all the weights for you and everything. All I'm telling you is I had 40 pounds in my pack, including the handgun that I was carrying, and this was part of that. And this was really easy setup. It's done very well for me. It's kept the weather out, the wind blowing, everything. It's done well to block that. I love this little tent. If you want to know any more about it, feel free to ask in the comments below, and I'll share with you what I know about it. I'll give you the weights and specs and everything on it. But this I put vertically down inside the pack on top of my sleeping bag, and then I started stacking stuff up inside beside it as we piled stuff in there. So I'll share with you a little bit more of what I had. So I have two of these Sea to Summit dry bags, and this is the larger one. This is a 13 liter. I was using this one for, and I still haven't unpacked it, still got all my clothes in it, but these were my extra clothes that I didn't wear. And again, excessive clothes, didn't know for sure at the time how much I was going to need, and I wanted to be prepared. So I had second pair of pants in case my other ones got wet or ripped or anything. Just some lightweight cotton pants, but not jeans. And I had other things underneath. I did not wear cotton underwear. I know the issues that can come from that. But the other pair was similar to this. I have them in the basket here, but just to give you an idea, this is the second pair. And they're not real light. There's some weight to them. I did have my non-cotton underwear, a set of long johns, both tops and bottoms, that I took with me. I was wearing a pair of bottoms the whole trip. I had them on and hiked in with them because it was cooler. Didn't know if I'd need them. I left them on and never even got into the second set. The shirt was just in case I got too cold at night. I could swap out, put a dry shirt on. Get into the socks here in just a minute. I've got a few more. Socks was actually one of the things that I really wanted to make sure I had enough of and didn't run short on. So hiking in on the first day, I had, hold on just a second, I have a couple different styles of socks here in different brands. I believe I started off with this pair here. They are a blend. I do not recall what all is in them or the percentage, but they're a hiking sock, and they're very comfortable. They're slightly heavier than most socks that I wear to keep my feet warm, and also kept them fairly dry. Worked really well for the entire hike. I didn't have anything else with them, no liner socks or anything, but they worked pretty well. When we got to the campsite, I ended up changing out to get some dry socks on, and I put a pair of wool socks on. These are heavier, nice long ones. And I actually wore, and I bring them out here, but they're some sandals. They're nylon, and they're not leather sandals, just rubber soles. They're kind of heavy, so I probably would change those out in the future, but gave my feet an opportunity to breathe a little bit better than being in the boots that I wore. And with dry socks, it seemed to work out pretty well. So even though I had just changed, we weren't there that many hours before I went to bed, those are what I put on. When I went to bed, I actually changed out and put on these thinner socks. Again, another blend that used for hiking, designed for that. Put these on, and then I put the wool ones back on over top of them because they weren't really wet yet, but these were super dry, and these were going to keep my feet warm with double layers. So that was what I did for night. Worked out perfect. Feet didn't get cold. So the next morning when I got up to change out one more time for the hike out, I had one more pair of wool socks, and then I used the liner socks underneath that. And these are just a polyester. Actually, they're socks I used to wear at church. I don't dress up in suits or stuff anymore, so I had these left over. Put these underneath, and that was my socks for the hike out, and everything worked out good. I didn't have excess socks. I didn't come up short. Everything worked out perfect as far as that goes. So, as far as hats, I do not have my stocking hat, but I just have a Dickies black stocking cap, standard stocking cap. I was wearing that around as the air got cool and the sun went down, Friday night. And as we were getting ready for bed, I had this next to the sleeping bag just in case. And partway into the night, I got cold, so I stuck this on. And I'll throw it on for you real quick just to show you what it is if you're not familiar with them. But so this is the mask. This is kind of how I wore it. So I kept everything covered, including my ears, which get cold pretty easy, my entire head, so that only a small portion of my face is exposed. Now, my face did get cold through the night, but I know it's better to have it getting cold than to cover it and have the moisture gathering in there, which is going to make it worse, having moisture cooling off. So this is what I slept with. I actually had the stocking cap on top of it, and I had also one more thing. So you know, I I had a zip-up hoodie, and I actually put it on, and then this is the jacket that I was wearing. This is my favorite coat. I wear it all winter until I get really cold and all fall and spring, but this is actually a Levi's brand. It's a quarter outside fleece on the inside. It's not super heavy, but it does the job for most things. So I had the hoodie underneath, and then this over top with 2 shirts on with this mask, and I tried to keep the hood up over my head even with the 2 hats on all night. Kept falling off, but throughout the night I was pulling it back on. With all that on, a pair of long johns, a pair of pants, I kept warm through the night. I never got cold, even though it was down to about 25. So, as far as clothes go, that's what I wore. While we were hiking, I did wear this jacket for a while, both Friday and Saturday. Saturday when I got up and started hiking out, I was actually getting warm, even though it was only in the 30s. With all the uphill hiking and carrying the pack, I was actually sweating in the 30-degree temperatures. You know, good potential for hypothermia there. Didn't want that to happen, but the sun came up, started warming up. So I actually took this off probably when it was about 40 degrees. Had both jackets, the hoodie and this one, strapped onto the back of the pack in case I needed to access them quickly again to put them back on, so I didn't want to get cold. But I ended up doing well with that, and never got too worried or too cold again. So I did have a couple of bandanas with me. My tendency to do anything when I start moving is sweat. My body sweats, my head sweats, it starts running down. So pretty early on in the trip, I had a bandana out, had it around my head. If you saw the pictures from the slideshow, keeps the sweat from running in my eyes. So I actually ended up going through 2 of these. The next morning, when we started hiking out, I was probably 15 minutes into the hike out in the cool temperatures and sweating again, so I put another one on. Does the trick for me. So, as far as gloves go, I really do need to get a different pair of gloves for this type of trip, but instead of just taking some thin cotton gloves, I ended up taking these. These are Carhartts. Got them at the local hardware store here in town, but they're pretty heavy leather. I thought if we needed to grab something off the fire, hot pot or whatever, I could use it for that. While we were sitting around the campfire Friday night, I had these on, keeping my hands warm. And even partway through the night as I was sleeping, my hands were getting a little bit cold, so I stuck them on for a little while and kept me warm. So it worked out really well. I had a couple of small pouches with me. This is one of them. This was my fire pouch. I had 2 lighters, 2 big lighters that I always have in my fire kit. I had a fast fire tablet, which we did not use. I had a cotton ball, which is soaked in paraffin, did not use. Had some waterproof, windproof matches, did not use. What I do have here is a little bit of residue left over from something I did take. This is just a little bit of tinder from one of my pouches in there. Dragonfire tinderbox. If you've never used it, it's great stuff. I hope you get a chance to try it out sometime. But I just grabbed a handful of mostly birch bark and stuffed it in this bag. We used that to get the fire going in the morning on Saturday, and it took right off. Got the small sticks going. There was a little moisture in the air, and some of the wood we gathered the night before had gained some moisture. So very good help to have that as well. A couple other things. Let's see. So I did have, I said, 2 of the Sea to Summit bags. This was a 4-liter. My intentions when I bought this one were to have it to keep stuff dry as it's intended, but also for the size of it, if I ever had to go collect water or anything, I thought it was the perfect size. We could go down to the river, up the creek, the pond, whatever, gather some water up in this, roll it up, and carry it back fairly easily. I thought it was a good size for carrying a little bit of water. I wouldn't want to fill up the 13-liter, but a 4-liter you could carry and have quite a bit of water. So I haven't used it for that yet, but that was part of my intention. I did have a few things I had stuffed in here, clothing-wise, that I ended up pulling out and using, but it doesn't take up a lot of weight, so I would take that again. I have small Ziploc bags throughout all my equipment that I keep stuff in, just keep it dry in case we do get wet, because I do not have a rain cover for my pack yet. So I took some wet wipes, some Huggies baby wipes or whatever. I used a couple of these while we were there, come in handy. If you don't have a water source right by, or get something on you want to wipe off or whatever. I did take a large garbage bag, which would have worked as my rain cover for my bag if I needed one, and then a couple more Ziploc bags if needed. I did take one of these out and use it to pack out our trash that I had, or my trash anyways, that we had this campsite from, the Mountain House meal, the packs of other food that I had, and stuffed them in there, again, just to pack them out so they didn't get on the rest of my gear. A couple of the other things that I did take, and these are not the ones I took because I ate them, but I did take a small pack of jerky and ate a little bit of it on the trail, and then ended up bringing the rest of it home and eating it, snacking around the house. But just a small pack like this, this is 12 ounces, or, I'm sorry, 3 ounces, 3 1/4 ounces, not 12, 3 1/4 ounce, probably about the same size packet. Very small amount, doesn't weigh much, but would be there for any kind of eating that you might need to snack on the trail. Now, I had never had these before, but I decided that based on everything I'd heard that the Cliff Bars were a good investment for having something to get the extra calories, to boost you a little bit, get a little extra help if you're struggling on the trail and you need to stop and take a break, to give you a little bit of boost in your energy. So I ate one of these. Do not recommend doing what I did, which was while I was hiking and eating one of these things. They're pretty dry. This is a crunchy peanut butter flavor, and as it was dry, I'm trying to keep up with my brother who's younger and in better shape than me, and I needed some water right away, and so I had to stop and dig out my Nalgene and take a drink just to rinse down the whole thing that I had eaten. So it was kind of slowing me down while I was eating it. Better to stop and eat it on the trail than to try to eat while you're hiking. I did take 2 of them. Partway on the way back, my brother and I stopped to snack. We were sharing snacks. Broke one in half, gave him half. I ate the other half. Worked out perfect. So a little bit of weight, but well worth it. For sleeping, I told you about the sleeping bag. I also had a sleeping mat or air mattress. This thing was one of the best investments I've ever had. This is the Climate Insulated Static V. Now this thing is not real thick. You get probably 3 inches if you inflate it all the way. Doesn't take a lot of breath to blow into it to get it fully inflated, but keeps you off the ground, but also has reflective material inside of it to give you an R value of about 4, which helps keep the heat in there. So at 25 degrees, and remembering back in January I did another trip with my brother, it was 20 degrees. As soon as I laid down in the tent, I had one of those little thick, or not very thick, foam pads, like 3/8 that you buy at Walmart. Had that in my sleeping bag. I had a wool blanket in between there. I froze. As soon as I laid on the ground, I could feel the ground. With this under me, and again, the temperatures haven't been that cold, so the ground wasn't frozen yet, but this really kept me warm, kept me off the ground, kept me more comfortable, so great investment. I'm glad I took this. You can see size-wise, it's not super long or large in diameter. Doesn't weigh a whole lot, but it's worth every weight and every size. Everything is taken up in your pack. For cooking, this is what I took for my cooking. This is a set. My brother had an extra set. He gave me this one probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. It's actually, the set itself comes with a large and a small pot. I took the large one, left the small one at home to take some weight out. This is the lid. Doubles as a bowl if you want. And then the bottom portion of it is quite a bit larger, as you can see. Use it as a cooking pot. Size-wise comparison there. Let's stick on top if needed. I ended up using the bottom, and I filled about probably a third of the way up with water to boil the water. And in boiling it, I used that for my Mountain House meal. I used that for my tea that I made. I used it for the oatmeal, and then the hot chocolate. And those are the only things I used the water for that I boiled. But worked out perfectly for that. The other reason I took the large one versus the small one was the size of my fuel canister. Now, just before we left, I stopped the day before at the store to get a canister. I actually wanted one of the smaller ones, because I have a couple here and I've used them partially, but I wanted a full one. They did not have any. This was the smallest size they had, so I ended up taking this knowing I wasn't going to run out of fuel. So that's the canister, and then I have this Primus stove, not the top of the line, not the best, not the biggest thing that's on the market today, but it was all I thought I would need for what I would be doing in the amount of hiking and camping. And if I decide someday to upgrade, I can always do that. But this one has the valve. It's breaks down into two pieces. Screw this on, and then you screw it onto the top of the canister, just like that, and light it. Boil your water. Cools off pretty quickly when you're done. Put it back away. Everything packs back right down into the same container, and you're ready to move on. So a little bit extra weight again, more than what I really anticipated taking, but I would probably take the same thing again. The only difference I might do is find the smaller container of fuel and use the smaller version of this pot that came with it. So as far as packing it away again, this drops right in here, sits in the top. Oops. Cover that back up. Fold everything up, and then back in its little netting here. Pretty quick put away too, so this will give you an idea of what we were using. And one of the things that, and I'll share this a little bit more as we get into this, but brother and I both took camp stoves in our own cooking ware. There was only two of us. There was no reason for us to take two stoves. So in the future, if we were to do this again, I would replan. I would say, hey, what are you taking for a stove? Is it reliable? If not, we're taking mine, leave yours home. We'll share and those types of things where we don't have to have two. Alright, my other little kit I had here, I haven't even put everything back in it, but real quick. For lighting, I had, this was my new light, and I'm not actually supposed to have it yet. It's a Christmas present that my wife didn't know that I took, but I have the Through Night TH10 headlamp. Now I'll demonstrate on this behind me here. Actually, I don't have a battery in it. Sorry about that. The battery I took out, put back in my flashlight. I carry this with me every day. I can demonstrate out here, but this is my little light, and it zooms into a small little square. It's pretty large, and you're not really seeing how bright this thing actually is, but it's actually a pretty bright light. It won't shine in your eyes. But this little flashlight, which is an ultrafire that my brother got me for Christmas last year, takes the same battery. It's an 18650 battery. Same thing goes in the Through Night. So on the trail, I can take 2 or 3 of the batteries, and they will work in either one of these. So this is what I was using on the trip. Really loved it. It's got, I think, 4 different settings. There's no red light on this one, but it's 4 different intensities of light. Great light, and I'll talk more about it in another video, but just wanted to share with you what I took. Now, prior to owning that one, this is my backup. This is just a cheap little Rayovac headlamp that it served its time, served its purpose for what I needed in the past, but I'm going to be doing a little bit more hiking and camping, so I wanted something a little bit more durable and that would hold up a little longer. So those were the 3 lights that I had with me. Again, this was a backup. Flashlight was accessible in the pouch here, and then the Through Night was what I had very readily available on the top of the pack to get at night, and worked out really well for me. So as far as cutting tools, brother and I talked a little bit about having no kind of hatchet or axe, and thought we would survive without it, and we did. So as far as cutting tools go, I had I always carry my Benchmade mini barrage. I left this at home. I didn't want to lose it in the woods. It's a nice knife, and I really didn't want to risk it, so I left that at home. I did take my Leatherman Skeletal CX. If you're not familiar with this, I may do a video on it too, but it doesn't have a lot of tools with it. I'm not into all the gadgets, but it has pliers, has a screwdriver, which has a removable bit, has the Phillips and flip it around, and it has a flat blade. Typically this actually has an extra bit that comes with it. I bought this one used, it did not have that bit, but I'm okay with that. It works. And then the best part is the blade. This actually has a very good quality steel blade, 154 CM, one of my favorite steels and knife blades. Kept it very sharp. It was ready for anything I needed to out there. It's the liner lock type lock on this. Always on my left side of my pocket, and I carried that the whole time. Now, if I needed a bigger knife, I actually took my custom. This was the first time taking it to the woods. Didn't really even get to use it. I cut one package of food open, and that was it. But this is my custom knife from Clinton Armstrong. I designed it. He built it. Love it. Custom sheath made by Rick Garcia. Did a wonderful job on that. And then the last part of it is the ferro rod, which was this 3/8 ferro rod I bought off of Amazon or eBay or something, and I put a deer antler handle on that, and then I had Rick make the sheath and make it fit the ferro rod as well, and the knife. So I look forward to getting out in the woods some more, trying this whole setup. But I did have it with me, hanging on my side. Friday, Saturday, I stuffed it in my pack, knowing that I wouldn't need it probably. So, last couple things. I did take this, which is with my cooking stuff. If I had a hot handle on the pot, this slides over it and grab something like a pot holder. Didn't use it. Could leave it at home next time. The rest, we're down to just a couple things. I had 2 Nalgene's. I only own one of them. It's 32 ounce. My brother has a whole bunch, so I borrowed one of his. And I also have my stainless. This is an Ollie Camp cup. Nalgene fits nice and snug in there. I had one on either side of my pack. Actually kept this one on this side with the cup, and then the other Nalgene here as the backup. And when I needed a drink, I could slide it right out of this. Pretty easy to find to slide back in. The other side, I would have had to try to stretch the mesh out and try to fit it down in. This works out nice because it slides right in and out. Kept both of the Nalgenes filled with water to start off with, and then on the way out, filled them both up again. Those carrying that extra weight. Well worth it though. Now, for the last part, I kind of saved this to last because this was probably the biggest mistake I made. It was just about time to hit the trail. I mean, we were packing up and heading out and just kind of throwing some stuff together, and I'm like, well, I don't know what else I need, and so I just started throwing stuff in this bag that I thought I might need. Toothbrush, leave it at home. Deodorant, leave it at home. Didn't need it. Toothpaste, leave it at home. Had a few Band-Aids. Yeah, okay. Probably should take them. Now, my brother had a small first aid kit or a few things. He asked if I had anything to stop bleeding in case we had a bad injury. So I took this called Wound Seal. It's stop bleeding instantly. You pack this down into the cut. That's something I would always take. Anything can happen, accidents. When you're out there that many miles in the woods and you can't get to help in a hurry, you need to be able to stop the bleeding. So that's important. So those are 2 things I probably would still take. I did take this is the Coleman, but it's emergency blanket, reflective, probably worth having as well. Pretty wise thing. Took a pack of cards, thinking we're going to get bored out there. You know what? I was so tired when we got to the camp, I didn't need anything to do. We sat around the fire for maybe an hour, or I did, and then I hit the hay. I was tired, so I didn't need those. Those could stay home. I have a tooth that's really messed up, and I get food stuck in. It's really irritating, so I took a few toothpicks. I'd still take those. This is a little kit that I put together. It's got some Gorilla Glue, some duct tape, some little sinkers if you're going fishing. It's got an extra AAA batteries in it. Probably could have left that at home. Another Band-Aid. This is the Dr. Scholl's, I can't think what it's called right now, but it's if you were to get blisters on your feet and walking, and when you're hiking, if you got miles to hike and your feet are sore, it's going to be painful. But I just took a small piece of this, and I would still take that as well. Some more stuff out of the medical kit, very small, lightweight stuff. Probably still take. Compass. My brother had one, plus he had his smartphone with the GPS on it. Probably don't need it. Emergency whistle in case you get lost. Probably didn't need it. Sharpie marker. Didn't need it. These are some little tweezers. Those would go again. Took some iodine tablets just in case, because we didn't know what we were going to find for water. We went back to the same place in Zaleski where they have water spigots out there at the campsites. I'd leave these at home. Going someplace else, I may not. Paracord, great stuff. Probably would carry it again. It was not necessary on this trip. This is some healing balm, again from Dragonfire Tinderbox. Is their logo if you've never seen it. Just some first aid healing balm in case you had a sore or something. I thought that would be handy to have, so I'd probably take it again. This is some stuff for your lip balm. Just was worried with the wind blowing and getting cold at night, but probably didn't need it. Bug spray. Didn't know it was going to be in the 50s. Didn't know if there's going to be bugs or not, so I took a very small, just little pump spray for that. So I don't think that was a bad decision, but we didn't need it. Hand warmers. Thought it could be getting cold at night, so just in case. Tick removal tool. Probably could use a lighter if they get on you, but I had this and it doesn't take up much space and weight. Little roll of electrical tape, because I was going to leave this container home next time with the duct tape. Electrical tape would have done fine, I'd still take it. And the last thing is my Spork. This is a titanium, very lightweight. Love this thing, I would always take it with me. So, of the things I took on this trip that I would not take again, probably not as much paracord, not a toothbrush, no deodorant, no toothpaste, no playing cards, no little emergency kit that had stuff I didn't really need, no compass, whistle, Sharpie. Probably wouldn't have taken as many plastic bags with me, so I could have left some of those at home. Didn't go over this, but my saw, he did use this, and I'm glad we took it. My brother used this one more than he did his own, but I have the Corona. This is a 10-inch saw. Works very well. It's got a pretty long blade in comparison to a lot of the smaller folding saws, and it's got a nice handle where you can really get a lot of leverage for cutting. So I like this. I think my brother did too, because he didn't use his own, he used this one. So that's very nice. I do have a new saw I'm getting for Christmas. It's the Sven saw. So once I get it, I'll do some comparison cutting and share that with you as well. I definitely would take this again. So, Mountain House, could have left one of the meals at home. Let's see, what else? Could have left the second headlamp. Don't need two headlamps and a flashlight as a backup. So one or the other. Could have done that. Could have left a few of these little items at home. And probably the biggest mistake that I made that I didn't realize during the whole thing was right here on my feet. These are my everyday boots that I wear to work. They are steel-toed. They're waterproof, so my thinking was, waterproof boots, don't know what you're going to encounter in the woods, gotta have waterproof. Once we got there, there was a couple little kind of muddy spots. I would never wear these again. The first day we were hiking, my feet were so heavy, I didn't know that I was going to make it to the campsite. So that was definitely a mistake. I need to get some lighter weight shoes. Didn't have the money at the time, so I didn't go buy anything. Now I know that's going to be the next investment, probably is some better shoes. So that's what was packed in my bag. I don't think I'm missing anything, but it adds up quickly. You really got to watch. I did have, this is a wicking shirt, and I had probably 4 of these with me, a long sleeve and 3 short sleeves, and I did go through all of those as well with all the sweating I was doing. But this jacket, really not ideal for camping. The hoodie, really not ideal for camping and backpacking. A lot of weight adds up in there, so some things I need to look at if I'm going to do any more big hikes like this. For what I intend on doing, which is more camping than hiking, I'm probably okay with the gear I have. But just a learning experience. It was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we did it. Hope to do it again. Some more with my brother and some other, maybe some of you, we've talked together about going hiking together. So hope you got something out of this. Hope you enjoyed what I showed you, and if you got any pointers or any suggestions, feel free to share them. So, this is Jeremy from Sorting Evil Bushcraft, and we'll talk to you again later.